You know what no one talks about? It is when the life you used to love no longer feels like yours anymore. It's confusing because that routine or that moment in time of doing the same things you're doing now used to bring you so much happiness. It feels like such a confusion because you're questioning yourself thinking, am I ungrateful? Am I in a rut? Do I just need another 6 a.m. morning tomorrow to just get back into things? However, you're doing the same things, just feeling almost blocked, like you are losing the enjoyment, and it feels harder than it usually should be. Something's off and you're just not lit up anymore by things that once did light you up. And you know what? That is just part of this process of life. One of the hardest things, because you can outgrow people, you can outgrow work, relationships, dynamics, and it can be frustrating because you're thinking, oh, why can't I just be like everyone else and like be happy with X, Y, and Z? But I really think we have all got a mission or some sort of calling. You've got your mission and calling instilled inside of you for a reason, and it is not something to be dimmed down or ignored ever, period. No one actually teaches you how to work through this phase of life that I feel like happens for a lot of us in our 20s, 30s, 40s. The space between letting go, surrendering, and not necessarily always knowing what is to come next. Moving countries, trying new things, even when you're petrified. This was how I really knew I was changing, and exactly how I rebuilt a life that felt like mine again. And I've broken this down into 6 steps that I want to go through. So we'll get straight into the first one. Contrast wakes you up. I can't tell you how much I swear by it. If you've had the same routine, same kind of Monday to Friday, same weekend for absolutely ages, you're wanting sort of change in your life, but you do the same things, you know, each weekend, you do the same activities, it's similar kind of people. There's never really any difference. It's just all a bit monotonous. I couldn't recommend you more to just book a weekend away, even if it's a night away, just doing something totally different that takes you out of all your sort of normal routine. I did a 5-day trip recently. It was with a different type of people who weren't in the same kind of echo chamber as me, and was one of the most eye-opening kind of just 5 days that I feel like I've come back with so much clarity. And I think a lot of that was because it was 5 days that I didn't control. I hadn't booked, as in it was organised by someone else, like parts of the trip. I didn't even go there with that intention. It was just you know, like a friend's holiday type thing. But what I had to do was surrender to just any form of control or any form of planning, and I can't tell you how much it's actually weirdly helped me just look at my life from a 3D lens, and how there's certain things that I feel like that we worry about that aren't actually as important as what we might make out. And I think just getting out totally from your usual, you know, routines, rituals, just gives you that 3D perspective to literally look at things from a bigger picture. And it's kind of like radio noise. You know, when for a while things can feel really, really radio kind of static, you can't think clearly or make decisions, but you know something could be off. I feel like when you take yourself out of a scenario and just switch things up a little bit, you can get just clarity. Having a few days where you do things slightly different to what you usually would just reinforces why you do the certain things. For example, I had a few days where I ate way more kind of like processed foods. I had later nights, and it just reminded me of why I, you know, have instilled like certain rituals, why I like an early night, what it feels like to have too many tequila shots. Do you know what I mean? Like, I am the first person, I love a tequila shot and I love a cocktail, I love a drink, but I don't like how it makes me feel the next day, and also what it does to my health, and it isn't in alignment with me as a person. And I think you only really know that by obviously experiencing different things, being around different people. If you're in a stage like that where you're just feeling unclear on certain things, a bit of contrast does flipping wonders. And I also had something this year which is around food. I've always viewed food as pure medicine, and I caught myself kind of losing trust in that a little bit at times this year, because I've had some challenges with my own health and improving things, and I'm definitely at the other end of that. But I had some weird stages where I'd stopped believing that. I feel like my body started just reminding me that I drifted from certain things, like not having certain foods in my diet. I've realised, oh, that is why I've got that in, if that makes sense. And that is sometimes what we need every now and then. Like, it's not doing the same things, but doing something different and coming back to what you actually want more of, what you want less of. Like, a lot of times we can worry about, say, even taking a holiday or time off our usual safety nets of our routines, when actually I think it can give you way more clarity on what you want day to day, like what you want your life to look like, and then you can make changes, you know, like from having different life experiences. Next is let yourself be a beginner again. And I'm saying this with my chest, because why do we keep ourselves so limited? Like, we don't want to start again. Say if we have really worked at, say, 1 or 2 skills in our life, and like we've put the time in and we remember the pain of being a beginner, why do we stop at a certain age wanting to be a beginner again? Like, we don't want to go through that pain, but then look what comes from going through that pain. You grow so much as a person. It's kind of like, do you remember in 20 times when none of us had been on, say, a Zoom call before, and how the first Zoom call was the scariest thing ever. Now, I bet you do Zoom calls day to day, you have meetings and you don't even think anything of it, and you've got way more comfortable over time. And it's similar to recently I caught myself not wanting to join this paddle club that has opened up near me because I thought, oh, I don't want to be shit at something, and then go and do a certain thing. And I was like, actually, no, that is exactly what I need to do. Just shows you where you've got maybe limiting beliefs and where you can work on. So go and be a beginner again at whatever that thing is. It's usually not what we think it is in our minds as well, and there'll usually be someone else that is, you know, on your level. Don't let the fear of not being good at something stop you from doing something, because you're just going to stay the same. And at the end of the day, we're building a life. Like, we're not building a flipping LinkedIn. Say if you're wanting to move somewhere, it could just be literally moving to a different village, moving to a different city, or moving abroad. Like, I've ended up going to Bali for a week and staying for 3 months this year, something that I did not have on my roster or did not have on my agenda. It was exactly what I needed at that moment, and that just came from an intuitive place. I had a feeling that I wanted to go to a certain place. I went there, stayed longer, and I got so much, like, grew so much as a person, was around different types of people, and it's just expanded my mindset. And if I'd have just stayed in my comfortable, that would have never happened, or I'd have never had that opportunity. Next is stop winging your foundations. Now, this is under the umbrella of fitness and health, okay? And I want to use the analogy of, we've got a triangle, and this is, your triangle is your health and fitness. So at the base level, the foundation, we need good nutrition, the right amount of sleep, and enough training stimulus, which, if you're trying to put on lean muscle tissue and you want a lean, sculpted, healthy physique, that is the base of it, for example. And in order to stimulate that muscle enough, we need a certain amount of weight, hypertrophy, for example, and we need to be stimulating that muscle in order to grow. Now, I really feel like people skip this foundation step and jump straight to the higher tiers. So higher tiers are things like, okay, nothing's working for me, so I'm going to start doing loads of cardio classes that don't stimulate my actual muscles enough and keep me in a cycle, a consistent cycle of not stimulating the muscle enough, for one, just getting really, really sweaty, most likely spiking a lot of kind of cortisol and stress hormones. This sort of person, I also was this was me for a long time, was also not fueling right. So I was in the top tiers, say, of this triangle. I'm just using a little visual, but I hadn't addressed the foundations of being like good nutrition and kind of trying to run before I could actually walk, and start with the unsexy stuff, which a big part of was just being consistent enough, say, with the same exercises each day, each week, for a set amount of time. I was just doing random things, spinning my wheels and feeling really confused and not really on like a mission, just felt like I'm doing something each time, for example. And that, you know, was fine during that phase. But real alignment comes when your training and nutrition are not only consistent, but you've got the base of your triangle met. So before you even think about what supplement do I need or tweaking anything, have you got just the basics, which is, you know, consistent, a workout program, a structured program to follow that is progressively overloading and stimulating your muscle enough? Have you got your sleep consistent? Like, this is a big one. Like, people try and, you know, start adding stuff in when they haven't even got a consistent sleep routine, and they're sleeping 5 hours a night, say. It's going to be really hard to see any physical change or make progress without these basics. So just stop winging those foundation parts. That is going to really help you along in your fitness journey, having the structured program, a plan in place for a set amount of time, so you know what you're actually aiming at. You're not just throwing paint at a wall hoping something will stick and something will work. Like, how many years has it been that you've been in this cycle for and that hasn't worked? What is it going to take for you to get to the point where, like, oh no, I probably need to change something, and I probably need to get a bit uncomfortable for a short amount of time, as in take a risk on following a program, and then see how things will quickly compound. And it is the biggest penny drop moment when you commit to something and just wholeheartedly go into that and stick to, you know, the plan that you have, and things really start to unfold. Your confidence starts to skyrocket too. So if we think of ourselves as a pyramid slash house, you wouldn't go and build a house without a blueprint. By the way, if this is hitting home, I have put something together for you which you want to stick around to the end of this video for, as I think it's going to really help you with everything that we're talking about right now. Next is one that might sting, and I say this with all the love in the world, and it's something that I've really gone through many times, and I think as women we go through it. But your body mirrors to you alignment. If you have not got regular kind of digestion, for example, if you're bloated, backed up, if you're suffering with lots of acne, lots of anxiety, your body mirrors what is going on internally, even if you're not voicing that out loud. Like, things show up. If you've got an irregular cycle, like, everything is so connected to what's going on inside, and as much as we can ignore that, all that's going to happen, it's going to come out in different ways, and it's important to actually address these little roots that are not very little. It's not a quick fix, but our hormones and gut health are some of the biggest telltale signs when things are out of alignment, when maybe we're pushing ourselves more than what our bodies want us to. And these can start off as little voices, and then they start screaming at you, especially when it comes to things like missed or irregular periods, cortisol being really high, and things like slow digestion if you're not eating regularly. Like, these are things that are showing up for a reason. It's about taking action to actually address these things from the root of the cause. And I've been on a big journey with my hormone side of things, and I've gone through a lot of kind of Chinese medicine instead of traditional medicine, for example, to solve these problems and get regular blood work done to see what is working. And I'm so shocked and can't believe what I've been able to do just by small lifestyle changes, tweaks, changes to my nutrition, looking at food as medicine, which it absolutely is, and using that to heal myself from the inside out, which it's been so hard. I'm not going to just sit here and say it's easy. It's a lot of testing, a lot of moments where you feel like, oh, this isn't working, but it just teaches you patience, which is what I want to kind of just get through to you today as well. How all these things that are showing up on our outside are a lot to do with our inside. Like, our gut is so connected to our brain. You can be eating all the healthy food, but if your gut isn't digesting the food well, it's going to be really hard to, say, make changes to things like inflammation, to improve your health from lots of different standpoints, to get good physical results, to train well, to perform well. So it's important that we always go back to these kind of things that start off as symptoms, and we don't want them to lead into more serious things. And if you kind of think of it like your body's the dashboard, and then every symptom is a light popping up. If you were, again, running your car, you wouldn't ignore all the lights, because if you've got an oil problem, your car's going to stop at some point, and it's going to cost you a fortune to get it fixed, and potentially not fixable. And it's like, our bodies, why would we ignore certain signals that are popping up and just think, oh, it's fine? Like, why would we leave that to get worse or deteriorate and just think, oh, it's fine, when it is a signal? And especially when it comes to your period, your menstrual cycle, that is a vital sign of your life, so not a signal to be ignored. Next one is energy is your currency, whether that is in your relationships, in your work environment, in your home environment, literally everything. It's kind of like content as well. Like, I've put out content for years now, and it isn't the strategy that people buy into it, it's the energy and what you tie into that. And I've really learned that, like, with any fitness goal that I've trained for, whether that has been a bodybuilding competition, half marathon, a marathon, it's all the other little things day to day that build into that momentum of energy as you as a person. With a fitness goal, it really teaches you that, like, you need consistency, you need trust in the process, you're always going to have doubts, discipline day to day, and it isn't just for 2 weeks or a month. Like, I feel like people quit at the 4-week mark of anything, and like, that is just the start of any point of change, as in you're literally just at a tiny bit. Like, things usually take so much longer than what we give ourselves enough time for, and I think people quit on themselves. You might have quit on yourself so many times because you just think that things are going to take a month, and that is going to be, like, what you're trying to, your end goal, when actually it could take 6 months to a year. But the minute people tell you that, you think, oh god, that's way too long. But actually, what is longer? You taking 6 years to get to that 6 month, point of change. And with your energy, don't you think it's so easy to try and pour from an empty cup? And what I've had to learn over this year is just how pointless that is, as in, my energy and frequency is so much lower if I am running off like 3%, kind of like, when your phone battery's on 100%, it's quick, it's efficient, whereas when it's on that like 2 or 1%, everything slows down and then it goes off totally. And we need to think of ourselves a bit like that. When I have been eating well, sleeping well, journaling, doing my mindset work, and like connecting to myself daily, I can then be the best, say, soundboard, the best person to hold space for other people. And we all hold space, as in, we give people, our time to be able to listen to them, to be able to support people. And how it can be on the other end, like when we're not giving ourselves that time and pouring into our own cup first, what we're giving out is much kind of lower. That's when we start like snapping at people that we love the most, and just goes down a little, like a deep decline. And I think that's also when we can make a lot of decisions from stress rather than actual clarity. To talk about something a little bit controversial, so I think there's a time and place for GLP-1s and things like Ozempic, and it is a super useful tool, but it has kind of been something that I've seen be quite exploited this year, and people taking a shortcut like Ozempic, when you cannot shortcut your health at the end of the day. Like, that is something that you're literally sacrificing if you're someone who isn't over overweight and is using a GLP-1 for nothing other than vanity kind of metrics, it's just going to cause havoc, especially as women, on your hormone health. And not only that, but it's going to affect everything like your training, because you're not going to be adequately fueled and properly, you know, being able to run at a good capacity and a good energy and frequency. If we're not fueling well, we're not going to be as ourselves. Something that I learned from getting to my most depleted state, so doing my bodybuilding prep, has taught me so much. So I was my most depleted I've ever been in my life, yet the weeks up to that I was also my most praised, when, you know, behind the surface of what may have looked like the pinnacle of health, it was so far from. It was, you know, extreme dieting, feeling not like myself, and not even knowing that I didn't feel like myself until I started feeling more like myself when I was fueling right, eating right. And that just taught me things for life as well, how it's the most important thing is how you feel about yourself, what feels right in your heart. We all have that inner knowing, and you need to keep connected to that. And also losing that connection to myself has taught me a lot, which I've definitely done over this past year. Like, I couldn't get sensations like goosebumps, I couldn't cry. And you know, there's things like crying. Like, I used to be a weekly crier. I'm a bit of a weekly crier now, but I had 4 months where I didn't cry. And as a woman, I didn't feel like a woman. I felt really disconnected from people that I loved the most, was questioning things. It's not worth anything for that. Playing small won't protect you is the biggest detriment just to everything, because I think you keep yourself in the waiting room when you're playing small, when you're not wanting to be seen, or you're scared of taking the risk, you're scared of putting out the piece of content or posting something because you're worrying about people that you went to school with might think it's a certain way. So just always questioning, you know, when you have thoughts like that come in, and just ask yourself, is this a limiting belief? Like, what is the actual thought? You can use practices like journaling to really unpick this and like have it out on paper. So say if there's something that you really want to do but you're scared of what someone might think, just write it out and say, what is the fear? And it's like, because Becky at school might think a certain way of me. Or day to day, when you're filling out journal prompts, you quickly start to see what actually matters, what is in alignment with where you're headed next and where you want to go, and what it's going to take to get you, like what daily actions you are going to be able to start taking to get towards these goals. It's like a domino effect. That is exactly why I created the Flowness Club Journal, which is prompts around these things that I use every single day that are based around creating more gratitude, more positive thoughts throughout your day. Like, if you're someone who feels like you have a big chunk of negative thoughts that come in, this was what I felt like I had for a really long time. Why do I view things in a certain light that isn't the most positive, when, you know, you're around certain people and they just radiate positivity and they manage to reframe things quite easily, whereas I used to always think of the worst case scenario. And it is literally wholeheartedly journaling that's managed to change this over time. And I've used these prompts for years, and these are the ones I've always come back to. And I've tried a lot. I've tried so many different types of journals over the years, and these are what I've stuck the most and have made it a process that's not super overwhelming, because I used to just find other stuff would take way too long, and I'd be sat there thinking, oh my God, I never want to come back to this. Whereas these are what have stuck and helped me achieve my goals, whether that's in fitness, health, everything. It's translated across all areas of my life. And what we're talking about right now is my exact reason why I created the Flowness Club. So I've really felt like there was this missing, which was where you could get your structured program to work towards building a lean, sculpted and strong physique. So building that actual foundation and just being able to do things in stages and unique to you. Like, we all have different goals. Some of us may need to start with fat loss. Some of us may go into a lean building phase. Some of us may go into a recomp. And I wanted to have this laid out, which is why I created the Flowness method. And this is also where we actually address your mindset, which is the most important thing, because alignment isn't just physical. I feel like whenever you just try to address one thing, it never really works, especially if you've not addressed your mental. So I've created a bundle where you can get the journal prompts that you can use daily, as well as access to the Flowness Club community and app, which is where you can actually join a team where we're on a mission together, we're in this together, where you can meet other like-minded girlies who have got very similar goals to you and are in the same headspace, you know. Like, I think it can feel lonely when you're in this kind of space. You could be listening to podcasts quite a bit, but don't feel like you have anyone to actually talk about things that you're interested in when you're trying to work towards any goal. When you're in a team and you've got the support you need, you've got the accountability, amazing things can actually happen. So I'll pop all the links down below. The journal is limited edition. We've not got loads of stock this run, so I don't want you to miss out on that, but I would love you to get your hands on a physical journal that you can use day to day. Thank you for being here and showing up for yourself. You are flipping amazing. Please remember that you are absolutely limitless. There is nothing that you can't achieve when you put your mind to it, when you've got that clarity. I really think that makes all the difference and just gets you out of that unblocked state. Would love you to stick around by liking this video and also subscribing if you aren't already, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.